Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. I think we have to start talking the big picture stuff because there's two questions that I have gotten quite a bit, and I just want to kind of go over them here and now. And I don't have the perfect answers for either. The first one is, where does this UConn team rank all time? And then beyond that, what is it that makes Dan Hurley so special? So in terms of where does this UConn team rank all time? Listen, I am not the expert on that, okay? I can't go back to Wooden's this and Dean Smith's that. You know, my time frame of watching college hoops basically starts with Pitino in the 90s. But first off, like, the stats speak for themselves, okay? 37-3 overall. By the way, in the Kansas loss, they didn't have Steph Castle. In the Seton Hall loss, Donovan Clingan got hurt. So they lost one game in the calendar year of 2024. And on top of that, they lost one game when they were essentially at full strength. That was Creighton. That was immediately after they beat Marquette by 27 points at home. And so when you look at this UConn team, listen, I'll say this. I'll be blunt, and I don't care if it pisses people off. This is as good and as complete of a team as I can ever remember. First off, before we even get into this, let me say this one thing, and this is the part that fires me up. Producer Matt, put a time code because this will be our 2-minute clip that I share all over social media. I think all year, UConn's pursuit of back-to-back national championships has been underappreciated, because when I look at this national championship run, everybody kept saying, oh, they're the first team since Florida to try to go back and back-to-back. Can they do it? That is factually correct, but it misses so much context. Florida went back-to-back in 06-07, and it's not to take away anything that they did, but Florida went back-to-back in 06 and 07, as we have discussed, at a time when they returned all 5 starters. It was an incredible moment in time. Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Corey Brewer, all could have gone pro. They decided to come back with Torian Green and who was the other guy? Lee Humphrey. Who could forget Lee Humphrey? They come back, and it's an incredible moment. I remember where they were when they went back-to-back. I was in New York City, buddy's birthday party, whatever. But they returned all 5 starters. Duke in 92 returned 4 starters, including 3 historically great college basketball players. Christian Laettner, who had already been a multiple-time All-American. Grant Hill. Bobby Hurley, obviously. This UConn team is not that. This UConn team lost its 3 best players off of last year's team. This has never been done. I can't say it will never be done again, but I can say right now it has never been done. John Wooden, all those great teams. Listen, I'm not trying to take away from John Wooden, okay? But he had Lou Alcindor for 3 years. He had Bill Walton for 3 years. UConn lost Jordan Hawkins, a lottery pick. UConn lost Adama Sanogo, the most dominant low-post player in last year's tournament. UConn lost Andre Jackson, that Swiss Army knife that did it all. And so I just bring it up because you can't compare this to even Florida. This is the greatest, most impressive back-to-back national championship in the history of college basketball. I will take that to my grave because Dan Hurley essentially did it with completely different teams. And so in terms of where they rank, like I said, to me, they're as complete a team as I've ever seen. Because when you look really at the top 7, maybe top 8 in this situation with UConn, what separates this UConn team is the fact that basically they got all these guys and all these parts, and they all fit perfectly together. This isn't, and it's no disrespect to all the great coaches out there, but this isn't just throwing together a roster year over year over year. This was thought out. It was planned. And when you looked at this team, it really had no weakness. And by the way, this isn't just my opinion. You know, John Fanta wrote a great piece where he interviewed Kim English, who said it's the best college basketball team he's ever seen. There's some other guys. I can't remember everybody who said whatever. But I bring it up because you look at this UConn team, and what is the weakness? Think about it. Basically, I think all 5 starters will play in the NBA, okay? I believe Tristan Newton's a pro. Cam Spencer, I think, gets a two-way contract. Steph Castle's going to be a lottery pick. Donovan Kling is going to be a top 5 pick. And the fifth guy, Alex Caravan, might not be a pro this year, but he is an NBA player. So you have 5 NBA players. The positional size, Tristan Newton, 6'5", Steph Castle, 6'6", the physicality that they played with. And then, oh, by the way, the toughness that they had. So, and it was funny, I was talking to Tom Moore, the lead assistant. He was actually Jim Calhoun's lead assistant on the 99 and 04 national championship teams. But I was talking to him on Tuesday night in the locker room. And what we were talking about was a lot of different things. But I said the most incredible thing, and I've said this all year, I think UConn's the most talented team, but they also play the hardest. And so when you put that together, what is the weakness of this team? I don't know that there is one. Oh, by the way, like I said a minute ago, 37-3, but 1 loss in the calendar year of 2024, 1 loss at full strength. By the way, on neutral courts, they lost, let's see, all 3 games in true road environments. So I think they played, 11 road games. So you take out of 40, that means they're 29-0 in home and neutral site games. That is insane. The stats, by the way, back it up. I believe I saw they're the first team in the history of the NCAA tournament to win all 6 games by 14-plus points. That has never been done. But then to me, you go back to some of the things that they did during the season. Remember, this was a team. Remember that Marquette game that we talked about in the middle of the year? Marquette had won like 8 in a row, and UConn just beat the brakes off of them. I forget how many Marquette had won in a row. UConn won by 28 points I think it was early or mid-February. I know because it was the day of my sister's baby shower. By the way, I'm going to be an uncle in a couple days. No big deal. Anyway, shout out to my little sister. But I bring it up because I'm watching the game at the baby shower. Don't worry. I spent time with my family too. But I bring it up because that was the game. Top 5 matchup in Hartford, Connecticut. UConn won by 28 points. And in that game, it was the highest, it was the biggest margin of victory for one top 5 team over another in the history of college basketball. So you start putting all this stuff together. 37-3, the most wins in the history of the Big East. Now, granted, the Big East didn't always play 20 league games, but 18-2 in the Big East is insane. Certainly from the UConn perspective, this is the most impressive team in the history of the school. And that's no disrespect. We were with Khalid El-Amin. Rip Hamilton was here. But, I mean, you look at this team. You know, everything that they accomplished, most wins in school history, most Big East wins in school history, first Big East tournament title since 2011, first Big East conference title since 06, first Big East outright title since 99. It is insane what this team did. And so, listen, I don't want to diminish the 2018 Villanova Wildcats. I don't want to diminish the 2012 Kentucky Wildcats. I don't want to diminish the 92 Duke Blue Devils. I can't sit here and say who would win on a neutral court, but what I can tell you is I believe that this is as complete a team as I have ever seen, and I also believe that especially when they were at full strength, once they got Donovan Clingan back, it was over. By the way, you know, there was only one guy that could compete with Donovan Clingan all year. You saw him on Monday night, and it wasn't even close. So not the Clingan versus Edey part. That's not what I'm saying. No disrespect intended. UConn wins. They're as good of a team as anyone that I have ever seen, and I give them just so much credit.